I love therapy. I love it so much. After all this time, I had this thought this weekend as I was actually driving home from therapy, and I thought, when bad stuff happens to you and you're like, why is this happening to me? And then somebody, some new age sail away, guru is like, why is this happening for you? And so then I started to think about, okay, well, why did I go to therapy? Well, I was in crisis this winter, and Chris was like, please, you are not okay. You need to go see a therapist. And I was resistant because I like to think that I can just fix myself. But I'm great at telling everybody else that they need to go see a therapist because it's so helpful. So I finally took my own advice, and I had this woman's name in the back pocket of my mind. She has seen an acquaintance of mine at some point, in her life. And this mutual friend of ours was like, hey, if you're ever looking for a therapist, so-and-so likes this person. And so I just held on to it. And so instead of like searching, because, oh my gosh, trying to find somebody that's in network and is taking patients and is dealing specifically, like you want to try to find somebody that's like, can handle your particular flavor of mental illness.
Yes.
I just reached out to her and found her, and she's been one of the best things that's happened to me this year. And so this weekend, I hit my neighbor's mother's car as I was backing out of the driveway. And even though it was minor and the damage was just minuscule, tiny, tiny scuff and a scratch on the back bumper, it was the thing that like opened up the waterworks. And it was the thing that was like, oh, wow, you've really just been like shoving a bunch of shit down lately that you haven't been dealing with. When I got there, I was like, I'm so sorry. I'm late. I was 5 minutes late. I hit my neighbor's mother's car backing out, and I just lost it. And I was like, I'm so sorry. I'm so embarrassed. She's like, don't worry about it. And so we get into her little covered porch and we sit down, and she says, do you ever just let yourself cry like this? I said, where's the time? No, I might have like crying fits here and there, but like never that like heavy cathartic feel good cry where you walk out and your eyes are just swollen shut. You can't breathe because your nose is so stuffy.
I'm sitting here like, I would like to try that. How do you do that?
And it was so hard because I was trying to fight it because I wanted to start going over some of the things that like we had been covering in the last session, but I just couldn't stop crying, and it felt so good in my body. And she was like, it's okay. I said, I know, but I just want to stop so we can get to business. And she was like, but it's okay. So I allowed myself to like feel that good cry. And then we started talking about all of the things that have popped up. And if you stop to think about it, like it kind of hit me all at once. I was like, oh shit, like this happened, and I just had to kind of like deal with it and keep moving. And then this happened and I had to kind of deal with it and keep moving, but I never really addressed any of the things. And so it's just like, death by 1,000 paper cuts. And this accident was an opportunity for me to be like, oh shit, yeah, okay. So we got to talking at the very end about something that has been weighing heavy on me. And we have a history of, mental health problems. I hate to say problems, but you know what I mean? Like anxiety, bipolar disorder, obsessive compulsive disorder. So my kids have had their struggles, and we've sought therapy when appropriate. And more recently, one of the kids has recently been showing OCD, and it has been, I feel like OCD, like anxiety, sometimes it can be like come in waves. And so there'll be times where it comes up and it feels pretty strong and then it goes away and then there might be something that triggers it. But it's never been something that's like consistently an interruption for this child. They're able to kind of like go through it for a few weeks and then we find a way to manage it and it quiets down. But recently it's reared its head again and it's shifted from one type of OCD. So there's different types of OCD. Mm-hmm. And so this has shifted from one to the other. And this new one is just, oh my gosh, it is loud and it is unreasonable and it is so hard to try to sit in it with somebody else. And so she said, she was like, you know, you're taking the right steps. And she's like, I'm not a child therapist, but the things that you're telling me that you're doing are all of the right things to do. The fact that you're going to put them into therapy is really helpful. Just make sure that you find the therapist that understands what they're going through. And then she said, I think it's really important to look at mental health struggles in a family like this. She said, because if your husband is predisposed and you're predisposed and you both have it, you know, genetics plays a big part in it. So you're very likely to pass down some of those things to your kids. But then there's also external factors that can cause it to crop up. And she hit me when she was like, if we think about it the way that we think about addiction in a family or alcoholism or, you know, any kind of like ism that people tend to find is like genetic and they struggle with generationally. She said, if you look at it and say, okay, we all have our own mental health struggles. Let's be open and honest about it and communicate with each other. And this becomes something like an addiction where we all work together to manage it and help to keep each other healthy. Now, I'm not asking my kids to help manage it, but I think looking at it from that point of view was really, I think it kind of helped me to like calm down and get some perspective around it, because in the moment when you're dealing with somebody that's like really struggling, it can be really hard because you feel helpless. Like there's literally nothing that I can say or do in this moment that can like turn this off. And when it's your kid and you can see that they're very openly suffering, it's really hard to like not to like try to shoulder it. Anyways, it just, that kind of thing made me feel really good of like, okay, we've dealt with something similar before. We can deal with this again. We have resources. And
well, I think that your children are already benefiting from just the mere fact that you acknowledge a mental health history that would, you know, feed into this issue. Because so many kids are brought up in households, and I am saying that as a person who was, where mental health stuff is not real, you know, like alcoholism is not real. That's just what I'm doing, and I also still went to work, so what are you talking about? Depression is not real. How are you depressed? Everybody, the lights are still on, everybody's happy, nobody's dead, nobody's sick. So like, the fact that you are approaching it as, I have these issues, your dad has these issues, it's highly likely that genetically this is where that comes from. Notice how quiet I was.
Yeah. Well, and before we go any further, like, I just want to, we're not doctors, we're not experts. We are just sharing from like what is happening. But I want to make it very clear that when I say OCD, it's not the way that somebody's like, oh my God, I am so OCD. I love to have my clothes arranged in Roy G. Biv. That's not OCD. That is just being an asshole. OCD
That's just a preference. No, I was going to say that we should probably make a clarification on what it is, because so many people these days, especially with the advent of TikTok and how all of this information is like at your fingertips, and now everybody's learning everything in meme bite-sized format. Yeah. Everybody thinks everything applies to them. And like, yeah, like when Khloe Kardashian puts everything in a jar because she's rich as fuck, that's not OCD.
Right.
That's boredom.
That's
and a
boredom
lot
and
of fucking money. Yeah. I'm talking about shit that affects your day-to-day life, that impedes you from having a quote unquote normal move through your day. But go ahead. What is OCD?
Well, you can think about it in very easy terms of having an intrusive thought. So there's different types. There's like cleanliness OCD. There's moral OCD. There's just right OCD.
Oh no.
So
this hit dog is hollering. Okay. What do you mean moral OCD? I think I have that.
So moral OCD is I did something bad, but it's not really bad. It's I told somebody that I couldn't go out because I didn't feel well, but I really felt well, but I told them that I couldn't. And now I need to confess it to somebody, or I need to do something. So that's the compulsion. So the intrusive thought is I did this and it was bad or wrong, or I'm a bad person. And now I need to do a compulsion. So maybe I need to confess it to somebody. I need to hurt myself. I need to do something in order to relieve that thought. Or my hands are dirty. I'm going to get sick. If I don't clean my hands right this minute, I'm going to suffer the consequences of having dirty hands. I just touched my right shoulder. This is just right OCD. I just touched my right shoulder and now I have to touch my left because my body feels wrong if I don't do the other thing to make it feel right. Lining things up, there's counting, there's all kinds. And they can shift. You could be plagued by one and then it morphs into something else. And so it's kind of like that Groundhog game where you're at the arcade where you're like hitting them with the mallets.
Whack-a-mole.
Yeah. And the problem is that if you engage in your compulsions, you get that temporary relief from whatever it is that is intruding into your thoughts, but you actually make the compulsions or you make the OCD stronger because you're engaging in that behavior and finding that relief. And so it becomes harder and harder to delay or ignore or distract from the intrusive thoughts that you're having.
Now, for this particular child, when did you notice these behaviors?
2019 was the first time it came up because they were, and I think that this is my fault. We were getting ready to go on vacation and I must have been like hard on the hand washing after the gym. And I was like, make sure you wash your hands when we get home from the gym because we don't want to get sick for vacation. And so for this child, it became, if I have dirty hands, I'm going to get sick and I'm not going to be able to go on vacation, which then turned into, I won't use a public restroom because I'm going to get sick on vacation, which turned into, every time I use the restroom, the toilet is dirty, my pants are dirty, my underwear are dirty, I'm dirty, and then I need a shower. I can't wear the same pants. I can't wear the same underwear. I have to put all of the things in the back. Like, it escalated. And so the weird thing about it was that it was like leading up to vacation and then on the drive down, and then it quieted and disappeared. But then when we went back to school during COVID, and the hand washing came back up, it started to rear its head again. And we were washing our hands until they were red and raw. And I mean, from the wrist down to the fingers was like raw and angry looking all year long. And so I reached out to the therapist and I was like, hey, I think that this is COVID related, but I'm not 100% sure. And then it got quiet. And I thought, okay, this is just a COVID thing. And that's fine. They've been beat over the head with, staying away from people and washing their hands. And then within the last 4 weeks, it's shifted from cleanliness OCD to moral OCD. And so now about 2 hours before bedtime, we're confessing things that happened in second grade. We're confessing things that didn't happen. And it's a struggle because you're told that you have to look at the child and say, I can't talk to your OCD. So I understand that you're having a really intrusive thought right now and you really, really want to tell me. But the problem is if you tell me, it's going to make this harder to deal with. So then you're trying to give this child who's obviously in distress and crying and like at you, like, please, 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 I really need to do it. And you just have to say, you have to delay, you have to distract, or you have to ignore. So we need to find something else to do. And we had to come up with all these rules. Did you hurt somebody? No. Are you going to hurt somebody? No. Are you hurting yourself? So I now have this checklist of like, is it illegal? So that try to get that logical part in there. That's like, okay, it's not possible. It's not happening. I didn't do this. And trying to give them the tools to work through it, which, I mean, when you're anxious about something or feeling out of control, the last thing that you can do is like turn on that logical part of your brain, because your dinosaur brain is just like, danger.
I think I have full-time dinosaur brain because I'm not kidding. Everything you've said to me about this child makes perfect sense to me, which is not right.
It's a constant state of like,
we got to wash our hands. 100%. Yeah, we're definitely going to die if these things don't happen in this order.
Yeah.
100%. And the crazy part is, this is probably the first time I've been able to really listen for comprehension about why that can become a problem.
Mm-hmm.
Because I'm experiencing something with one of my children. Like, my thing is, when it's from me, it's fine. Because here I am. I made it to the ripe old age of 45 with all of these feelings completely unchecked, completely undiagnosed. and maybe the cleanliness stuff is probably something I should examine. But the only reason why this is like even ringing true and sounding like something I should address, because again, remember, I come from a place where these things are not real. Get your shit together. Go to work.
Yeah.
Calm it down. But now that I'm experiencing it secondhand as the mom, and also have no control over making that thing stop, and also having made mistakes already in the process of trying to help with this, because I recognized it as something else and was reprimanding and admonishing.
Yeah.
And then weeks and weeks later was like, oh, shit, this is that. Oh, I yelled about that. Oops. I shouldn't have said that.
It happens a lot. It happens a lot because parents think that their kids are just being irrational because it sounds irrational. But it's not that. And trust me, I did the same things when we were having big anxiety problems with another kid. And I thought, oh my God, this kid's just an asshole. What the fuck? Why are we throwing this tantrum for this? Like, seriously? What have I done wrong? And I would match that energy. So the child's in distress. I think that they're just being over the top and unreasonable. And so now I'm getting mad because there's no reasoning with somebody that's in distress, but I didn't know that's what it was. So don't be hard on yourself, because it can be very hard, because sometimes kids just don't have the tools to say like, I'm fucking suffering over here.
Yeah, and then there's also the denial of that suffering. So I actually just got out of my inbox. I had to figure out how to call find a child psychologist, which is crazy. Like, for me and where I come from and how I was raised, what do you mean you sending the child to therapy? Girl, if you don't sit down. Like, that's how it feels to me.
Yeah.
But I also know that that's the right thing to do. I'm a person who's mad when a person when a child breaks their toe. You can't be mad at a child for hurting themselves. That's crazy. Right. And I know that. But like, I'm trying to undo 40 years of what I saw.
Yeah.
And what I was in.
Yeah.
And the other part about it is like, I started trying to connect the dots of like, where did this come from? And even jokingly be like, oh, that must be some Beck shit because the Howards don't have that. I'm sure the Howards have plenty of issues. But, Justin's nervous papers, the way he folds up a fucking magazine insert and then tucks it and pushes on his nail beds, and he would say, that's not an anxiety, that's whatever, I just like doing it. I'm like, yeah, but you like doing it. It releases some kind of joyful response in your body. And you also, if you're a person that's, smoothing the bed sheets, looking for that perfect paper. Oh man, I just had the paper perfect. Shit, I just lost it in the, babe, can you check on your side if the paper went over? Like, that's not normal. You need that piece of paper. That is an anxiety. And you have just managed your anxiety all of these years through this piece of paper. It doesn't hurt anybody.
Yeah.
You're not changing the physicality of your body. Well, your nails are mangled as shit, but you also play guitar and whatever. But like, I started like connecting those dots, be like, oh, that's why this one is doing that. Mm-hmm. She was born with this anxiety.
Yeah. And sometimes for me, I found that once I had somebody put a name to it, and when I went to see the doctor, and she made this beautiful diagram of like everything that I had been going through. And then you start to go back like you just did. And I was like, holy shit, like all those nights where I would hit a Sunday night and I would be like, something's wrong, but I couldn't put my finger on it. But I had this like sinking feeling in my stomach, like something bad was about to happen. I was like, oh fuck, that was anxiety. I didn't have any frame of reference because nobody had ever told me. And then I started thinking like, I've dealt with this my entire life. I just didn't have the tools to understand that that's what I was dealing with. And so you find ways to cope. And it might be, everything from exercise to eating to shopping or, zoning out on a video game, like just trying to relieve that built up pressure that you have. So like some big life event could trigger it. You feel out of control or anxious, about something, and then it just kind of starts to come to the surface.
Well, I only started to like understand my anxiety when I had like physical response in my body.
Oh, that's the worst.
If it was brain stuff, I could just will it away or whatever. But like when my body started to like sweat and shit, and I'm waking up out of a fucking deep sleep in a state of, panic over something that has not yet happened, that will not happen.
Yep.
Well, it might. Let's not get crazy.
Is it possible? Yes, anything is possible. Is it likely? That has kind of helped to manage those irrational fears.
I think most of it is just being able to define the shit. So like reading the books and talking to a person who says, oh yeah, that's a thing. Oh yeah, that's a thing. Oh yeah, that's definitely a thing. But for me, I also think all of these things were manageable because I made it this far, and therefore I'm now dismissing all of these things. You know what I'm saying? So like, when he's like, you are spiraling, this is crazy, maybe you need to take your medication. And my response to that is, okay, I don't need to take my medication for anything. I'm just fine. Have you seen anything wrong in this house? This house is, everybody's upright. Nothing's on fire. Everything's gotten done. What are you talking about? Like, I will find a way to push away the solution because you brought me the solution based on your judgment of how I'm presenting, and I'm presenting in a way where you have seen beyond my mask, and that annoyed me.
Yeah. Because how long have you gotten by with that mask and everybody sees Melissa Beck as X, Y, and Z, and now there's this chink in the armor that is very vulnerable to tell people that you have. And again, we're weird with brain shit.
Very weird. But I also feel like a hypocrite with this shit, because I will be the first to espouse, yeah, you got to get therapy 100%. Yeah, you got to fucking talk to somebody about that shit. But then we'll be real weird and secretive selectively.
Yeah.
About my own path with that shit. And like, when I get quiet, like, yeah, deep throes of depression, bitch. for show. And then come back very loud, very happy. And that's to say, see, beat it, tackled it. You didn't even know it was happening. You know?
Yeah.
And so, like, I am struggling with now trying to understand this for my child. She had a rough year. But it's also one of those things where, you know, is it this or is it that? Is it this age or is it, you know, hormones? Is it whatever? We can find all the reasons to, like, make it go away. But
Yeah.
it escalated from, you know, normal angst to now this is a visible problem that I only recognize because I saw it on some TV show one time and was like, oh, damn, that's crazy. You know, like, that bitch is eating toilet paper. I'm fucking crazy. What's wrong with her ass? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
No, my child's not eating toilet paper. But it's one of those things where it was such a weird behavior and it was just like, why would you do that? That's so crazy.
Yeah.
And it's, you know, trying to get answers like, well, when do you feel like you have to do that? Or why do you feel like you have to do that? Or is it because of this? Or is it because of that? And I see that she too has already, at the ripe old age of baby,
Yeah.
has managed to mask. What are you talking about? No, I wouldn't do that. No.
Yeah.
Everything's fine. Look, see? Look at my room. Perfectly clean. What are you talking about? And I'm just like, bro, we got to talk to somebody about this, which is crazy because she's like, okay, are we going to talk to somebody about your shit? And I'm like, hold on, where was that in the discourse? But the reason why she's saying, are we going to talk about your shit is because that's the exact shit I be doing.
Yeah.
You tell me about my shit, I'm going to be like, well, let's remember the time. But like that shit as a mom
Yeah.
is fucking demoralizing because you could do everything in your power to make sure that you undo the generational trauma that you somehow survived by merely reading books, talking to someone a couple years at a time, or, you know, just practicing self-care. You know, no one told you how to look for it. No one told you how to spot it. But you figured it out. You figured it out. And you don't fault. Like, you know, whatever. I don't fault them. They didn't have the fucking tools. They currently do not have the tools.
Right.
But I do. And so I feel I'm annoyed that we did all the hugging. We did all the expressions of love. We did all the... I'm serious. I did everything that they didn't do.
Yeah.
I'm still here standing and a perfectly happy child. Love them. They did their best with what they... You know, with the lots in life that they were given.
Yeah.
They made, you know, reasonably good people. You know? So I'm like, here I have some really great shit to offer my kids. And an acknowledgement and a basic understanding that this shit is real. That there is such a thing as people being sad for years at a time and still managing to get their work done. That's real. And still feels like a personal failing as a mom that I've offered all of these good things. I literally dedicate my life to making sure that you have everything I didn't have. Like all of that shit, the fucking hot breakfast every fucking day, all that shit's my shit. All that shit is because I needed that. Or I think that I needed that. And so I want to give that. So now I did all that. And we're still here at this thing.
Well, you can't fault yourself. You can if you're like, well, I did give you like a stacked deck. towards this problem. But
that's how I think of it, though. And I know
Yeah.
I know that that's not right, because I have to get it through my thick fucking skull that it's a wiring. It's a wiring.
Yeah.
It's the brain.
Yeah.
That is. She has this because Justin Beck has that. See, again, blame.
No, here's the thing that has helped me the most, because I hear you. All of those feelings of guilt are, and then you look back on all the times, once you understand what was happening and you think back on all those times where your response was the absolute wrong response in that scenario and you absolutely were not helping, and you start to look at all of the compounded shit that you just threw onto that fire. And I have to step back and say, okay, but the fact that my kid has two parents who understand how this feels, two parents who can recognize the signs, means that you can put your child into the places where they need to be to get the help that they need, because life is only getting harder from here on out. And so I felt bad at first for saying my child sees a therapist, to shifting it and saying my kid now has the tools to come and fully express to me how they're feeling. They have the tools to come to me and say, I'm in crisis, I need help. They know who they can go see at school if they're having a really hard time. And my hope is that they won't be 25 wondering why they're having that pit in the bottom of their stomach, feeling anxious about something, not knowing it's anxiety, and can then take the steps to like help themselves. So it's hard now because there's so many unknowns and you feel desperate to help, and this isn't something that you can fix with a Band-Aid or a dose of, Tylenol. But in the end, you're giving them tools so that they can be better than you were at 20, at 30, at 40, and then think about then how that trickles down.
Yeah. I've only just now started to which is crazy. And this is again me feeling like a hypocrite, where I'll be the first to say, yeah, man, big proponent of mental health. Because I did the work and I read the books and I went to therapy and all of that stuff, and I worked through one very specific anxiety rooted in one very youthful choice that I made. So I worked through all that. Does it come up? Sure. But then there's still that piece of me that thinks, okay, I have all the tools. I have a lot of privilege in the sense that I have the access to the tools and on top of the tools themselves. So like, why is this happening? I've lined all this up. I did all this work. Why is this happening? And I need to undo that thinking. Because I also feel like this is happening because there's something wrong that I did. There's something like you could love your parents, right? And not blame them specifically for how you came. Like, I'm fucking weird. I'm definitely crazy. Shorty and Mercy is crazy. They're lovely, but they're crazy. And I'm thinking to myself, how is she going to directly correlate that to me and Justin being crazy, right? And again, it's just the wiring. And I've also I had to have a conversation with a girlfriend because I texted a girlfriend of mine and was just like, this is what I'm dealing with. To which she replied, wow, I did that in 6th grade.
Mm-hmm.
And she said she lied about it for a really long time, but her mom noticed it. And she's like, the same. And like the way she was talking to me was in such a way where she was reinforcing that I was a good mom for even noticing, She's like, because my mom noticed and my mom was annoying about it. And she's like, but I also lied to her about it. And I was like, okay. And so then I told her my plan of action, which was to do this one thing. And she goes, yeah, that's fine, but that's also distracting. it's a distraction, basically. She's like, and I get it. You want to feel, because what I said was, I've been trying to relate and like hang out and not ask the questions so forcefully and be like, just tell me, like, what is it? Why though? Because she doesn't fucking know why.
Yeah.
I can surmise in my mind all of the things that led up to it. She can't. She's a fucking kid. She doesn't know why. I know why, and I'm telling her, I'm saying, could it be because of this, this, and this, and this, and this? No. Okay, well, she's a kid. Of course she doesn't think it's that. But that's what the fuck it is.
Yeah.
But also, if that's not what it is for her, then that's not what it is, Mom.
Yeah.
Shut up.
Yeah.
But then the disrespect comes out, Mom, shut up, leave me alone. And I'm in my own ego. Did you just tell me to shut up? Are you for real right now? And now the relationship has shifted into, first we were in here trying to help you with you. Then you disrespected me because you're frustrated and you don't know where else to go with that. And then for me, culturally, I can't let this child disrespect me. The fuck? But that's not helping nobody.
Says the
you know what
woman
I'm
who
saying?
says when her husband asks her if she's taking her medication, she looks at him and is like, what the fuck? I'm not going to take my medication because no. So you're parenting yourself. If you look at anxiety as an octopus, the head is the root and the behaviors are the tentacles. And so you might be able to cut off one of the tentacles, which is the behavior that's happening now, and it might shift into something else, and you can cut off that tentacle, and you're just going to forever battle the tentacles until you get to the root. And so it's very possible that she doesn't know exactly what it is, and it might not just be one thing. It could be a couple things. And so I think that by seeking out a therapist that she feels comfortable with and can talk to and can give her some tools to kind of like do a little fact-finding mission and figure it out, that will go a long way to starting to be able to cope with it. I think another really helpful thing, if you haven't done this already, is to share your own experiences. Share where there was a time where you ignored it and it manifested in a way that was, destructive or uncomfortable, and then how you dealt. I think that for kids to see there's nothing wrong with you and you're not weird and you're not broken and mommy and daddy deal with it too and this is how they deal with it, I think that is really, really helpful. And it goes back to that. This is just something that we deal with as a family, and it's not wrong and it's not bad. It's just like if you got a sore throat, I'd take you to the doctor so that you could get medicine.
Well, if you got a sore throat, I would be like, why were you outside without a mask? See what I'm saying? Like, I have all the wrong answers. I have all the wrong answers. 100% have all the wrong answers. And I definitely already really fucked that up because I was like, well, if you keep doing that, this is what it's going to be, which was the wrong thing to do. But I also didn't recognize yet that it was this.
Yeah.
I thought it was just a misguided choice.
Yeah.
Versus an uncontrollable urge. And that's where I fucked up. And that's where I had to go, okay, I didn't realize. And I'm saying this as a mom who has an open and direct, loving, talkative relationship with her children. Like, my kids tell me shit. They tell me about their feelings. We talk. We lay in the bed and kiki. That's who we are as a family, and that's how I've always wanted my relationship with my daughters to be. So I'm disproportionately annoyed at this at this coming up because I'm like, but I did all the things. I did all the things that they said I had to do to make sure that you would be a straight A regular student who came into this house when you came back from college and hugged me with, gifts. And all of them are manifesting anxiety in different ways. And for me, it's oh, that's pandemic shit, or oh, that's this shit. And some of it is not. I can't just blame the pandemic for why this one is, skittish at a fucking social event.
Yeah.
It might not necessarily be that. It might be that she's a fucking other and she feels othered.
Yeah.
And of all the people in the world, she got the best mom to explain that feeling and to make it, you know, her superpower.
Yeah.
But then here I am like, why you like this, man? What'd I do? Help me understand what I did wrong.
I know.
And so there's
hard.
a weird, and the other layer here is that we also champion weirdness in this house. So what one parent might consider a disturbing drawing, we're like, this fucking kid is brilliant. And I only say that because Justin Beck as a child was sent to a psychologist because of his drawings. And as it turned out, the kid was just a genius, as we see. He put his art out into the world, and look at him now. And so, like, we're in this weird place where we're trying to let them super get weird and be okay with that, but also understand that the kid might have an issue. And then also, because we now have so much language and tools, understand how that relates to the adult ego. You know what I'm saying? Or am I talking crazy? This is going to be one of those podcasts. This sounds like a fucking crazy TED Talk where I'm just reading it's just like making no sense. Just a bunch of fucking
word salad.
Word salad, jibber jabber. And so, at the beginning of my journey, before I knew I had a journey, the journey with which I was about to step foot, I could not step foot because I had no feet. And when I had no feet, I realized I could not walk. And without walking, we realize you cannot get to the next destination without a means. And because I didn't have the means to afford the shoes that I needed to walk into this journey, like, that's how I think I'm sounding.
No. What I hear you saying is that you don't want to overstep, because this might not be anything and it might be something. And I think the way to look at it is this affecting my kid's quality of life? You know, Justin making disturbing drawings. I can see where a parent would be like, if he's like decapitating people. Isn't that like the beginning of Jeremy?
Yeah. Yeah. No, well, do you want to know what the drawing was that got him in
Actually, I really do.
That got him in therapy?
Yes.
In bubble letters, this was second grade. In bubble letters, if you've been following me for a long time on social media or where I went deep, deep, deep underground, I have shared this, but this is the first time it's been out into the public. In bubble letters, big ones, it says, "That's fucking bullshit." It's 2 school desks, 1 piece of shit, an actual piece of shit, a large piece of doo-doo with devil horns is fucking another piece of doo-doo with devil horns. So it's 2 pieces of bulls that are in the shape of feces that are having sex. So it's called "That's fucking bullshit." The teacher
Oh my God.
presented it to his mother and said, "This is quite disturbing." And the mom, Burnett, was completely
mortified,
beside herself.
Oh my God.
And when she told me the story, when we, that thing that you do when you're getting to know your future mother-in-law.
Yeah.
I was so distressed because this is my child. He's been brought up in a lovely home. My daughter has none of these problems. We don't know what's wrong with Justin Beck.
Oh my God.
And in hindsight, we see, okay, he was just a genius. It was a play on words.
Second grade, that's pretty advanced.
It's advanced as shit. So, like, nobody in the school system and nobody in the parental structure was like, fuck everybody, this kid's amazing, let's make him run for president. They instead were like, we need to put this child away and we need to dim that light. And fortunately for them, fortunately for everybody, he didn't grow up to be a school shooter. Instead grew up to be an amazing artist. And so there's that piece of it, and Maja is also starting to exhibit these kinds of play on words with drawings that we just save. Because it could be, it's a brain wiring. It's a brain wiring. I don't, I don't think that she's going to harm anybody. Justin Beck was never going to harm anybody. He just has a weirdo's brain, and that's okay.
That's okay. I think where you get into, is this like something that needs to be treated? Is this something that we need to explore further? Is if it starts to get in the way of the child's life. And I think the same thing can be said for adults. If your anxiety, if your OCD is getting to the point where, and I think OCD is often more insidious than anxiety and more so than depression in some ways, but if it gets to the point where you cannot go about your everyday life without this being a major roadblock for you, then we are to the point where we need to get help. If you are constantly engaging in compulsions to the point where you can't get out of the house, if you can't get your work done in the day, and even that is still tricky, because if you're suffering, if you're struggling inside and white knuckling it through your day, and you're like, but I'm coping, like you said, I'm masking, I'm able to be a high functioning person with this issue, because that's my grief after Luca manifested itself into OCD, to where I thought that if I just did all of the quote unquote healthy things for my kids and Chris, that I would keep them healthy and alive. And so on the outside, I looked like the best crunchy mom ever. I had no toxins, all the vitamins, essential oils. I've got the diffusers. I am avoiding, the gym, daycare at high traffic times. On the outside, I was Mother of the Year. And I had people messaging me all the time. Where did you get this? And so I was like, yes, I am the shit. I am coping. And it wasn't until I started to have regular panic attacks that I was like, wow, this is, this isn't good. And I'm like screaming at my kids all the time, like, because they did something really dumb. I just threw this tiny backpack across the room because, somebody came in and asked me a question. So you have to be really like willing to call yourself on your own bullshit. And therapy might be a temporary thing. Therapy might be a very long thing. Like, I seriously went into this thinking, I'll stop when my dad gets out of the hospital. I don't need to. I'm just like in a really bad place right now because my dad's sick. And then the more that I go, I'm like, wow, there's this and there's this. And I go in thinking, what are we going to talk about today? I really have nothing to talk to you about. And then I end up like snotting all over 15 tissues because there's always something. So when are you going to therapy?
Yeah, Justin Beck is like, you gotta re-up. You gotta go again.
What's it gonna hurt?
It's not. Well,
your pocketbook?
I'm actually gonna just be paying this lady that I just found double, because she's gonna help me too.
Okay, well, that's good.
I'm gonna send the child and I'm gonna send myself. It's just been and the pandemic hasn't helped.
No. If you're struggling, I mean, imagine what your kids are going through. If you pull back out of the immediate what's going on in the world now, and you pull back and you go, okay, so let me think about all of the times where my anxiety was the highest. What was the thing that was making me feel like this? Was my health at risk? Was my safety at risk? And I think if you can kind of pinpoint, like, what's my trigger? And if I know that my trigger is my health and well-being, or I know that my trigger is my safety, or I know that my trigger is protecting my people in my space, then all of these things assaulting me right now are contributing to that and heightening it. And so what can I control, and how do I minimize that outside? It's kind of like we were talking about last week, like just kind of finding that comfort in your bubble and finding a way to live peacefully and well within that. And if you can pinpoint your triggers, then you have to find a way to cut them out a little bit.
I think I think that I am feeling stressed out because no matter how hard I try, and this applies to everything, no matter how hard I try at mothering, no matter how hard I try at, being a good wife, no matter how hard I try at, protecting the kids from a motherfucking pandemic, there's always going to be shit that's out of my control. Always. Always. And when those things are out of my control, I feel very slighted and like gaslit. Mm-hmm. And as a person who cared a lot about the pandemic, every day you feel like no one listens to you or believes you about this shit. And then every day it's, I fucking told you, see there. But how is that serving me? It doesn't matter. I'm only as protected as the rest of the world around me, and the rest of the world around me is moving forward. And I have moved forward in ways. So I haven't gotten to the place where I can accept the consequences. So balancing giving my kids a somewhat normal life against my true staunch feelings about doing the right thing by other people and not doing casual fun shit is fucking weird, and it's hard on top of everybody's just living. So I feel crazy. Like everybody's at Lollapalooza. So I feel like, why am I still tripping about it? Nobody else is tripping about it. And then monkeypox coming. Mm-hmm. That added layer of like truly not being in control, and like my way that I control is my consumption of knowledge. So like where some people are like, oh, you're doom scrolling and you're, wallowing in it. I feel like I'm educating myself so that if and when this does come into my household, I'll have the tools. I'll be like, yep, that's how it happened. This, we got to do this. We got to do that. But none of that is helping. None of that is allaying the fucking fears and anxieties. All that shit's just making it worse. Yeah. But I also don't want to be a person. I don't want to be an irresponsible person that is like, let's live, love, fucking laugh. So I can't find the happy medium in those places. And for me, happy medium is going to become complete shutting down, complete disconnecting, go inside my house. All y'all leave me alone until the United States government figures this out, and they ain't gonna. So for me, it's I remove myself from everybody who's living and doing and being at the detriment of my kids. No, can't do that. Kids got to have a life. But then the kids have a life, and then what happens? Everybody gets sick. And these are extremes, and it seems like nonsense. But when the world around you doesn't care like you do, or when you care and you get sick anyway, which feels like a personal failing or a moral failure, which it's not. You fucking went to Costco, shit. Shalom went to school, shit. She got COVID. She went to school. And that's what it is. A lot of it is, I have no choice but to make a good choice for my kids. Mm-hmm. And in making good choices for my kids, there's risk. Yeah. Which, fuck a pandemic, that's life.
I was going to say, that's parenting in a nutshell. That's life in a nutshell.
Right. And all of that feels out of control for me. And I didn't even know I had this many control issues, but it's like, bitch, really? Have you seen your dishwasher etiquette? Okay.
Have you seen your cleanliness requirements?
Yeah, like the way, do you have any skin cells left?
Do you know you?
And I don't, apparently don't. And that's, and just like you said earlier, that really resonated when you go, I'll be the first person to be like, you got to do X, Y, and Z, but cannot do that for myself. 100%. Yeah. But then my shit also comes out in judging. Oh, you don't do it this way? Ooh, girl, good luck with that. That's so fucked up.
Really?
I mean,
never know that.
It's fucking funny, but it's kind of fucked up. But also, let's not get crazy. Let's not get too far from the motherfucking goalpost. The reality is you is supposed to do some things my goddamn way. See how I guess can't let it go?
I know. Let me ask
you For every breakthrough, there's two steps back.
Yep. I understand a desire to know everything that you can about the threats as it pertains to COVID and monkeypox. because I also have that, and I understand that it can be addictive and you can get very lost in it. And I think too, like when you're feeling very hopeless, it feels like you're doing work, that you're being productive in the race or fight against whatever the threat is. I think that is not helpful for you. And
I know, but it helps the general public. Imagine how many
Melissa,
lives
they have
I've saved.
access. I know, but listen, they have access to those same apps. Like, you don't have to be the canary in the coal mine, because their tickers, their news alerts are running constantly as well.
They're not, though. That's the thing, Amanda. People are not understanding the pervasiveness of monkeypox. They're really not. They don't get it. They haven't heard about it. And then,
but why do you have to be the one?
Exactly. Why do I have to be the one?
Why do you have to put your mental health in peace?
Because sharing is caring. I'm trying to help you motherfuckers. I want y'all to know y'all are gonna get this, okay?
But you're more concerned about the health and well-being of somebody you don't even know in buttfuck, Wyoming, than your own personal health.
On the topic of butt fucking, it's not a sexual disease.
Stop
Anybody
it.
can get
Stop
it.
trying to deflect. You're saying that it's more important for you to run that account than to protect your peace.
Right, it's not. It's not. But I also feel like if I'm going to doom scroll, I might as well do it with a little PSA on the side.
Oh, Melissa.
You know what I'm saying? Like, at least my doom scrolling is not in vain. At least it's helping motherfuckers. Listen,
it can be helpful, but to a point. When it starts to cost you your
my
sanity,
mental health, 100%.
Yes.
And you notice, I put the account down for a good 3 or 4 months.
I know, and that was great.
But I only put it down because I didn't have the bandwidth, because I was trying to do TV shit. I was trying to do meetings. I was trying to do the podcast. I was trying to do my little part-time job. I was trying to parent. I was trying to do I was doing too much. And so in my mind, I said, something's got to give. And it was that. It was like, fuck you strangers. Good luck out there. You gonna get that shit. But like, I think there's so much value in presenting information in a somewhat, ain't shit funny about COVID and monkeypox. But like, the intention of that account was to provide information, very complicated scientific information, with a kind of humorous bent. And sometimes it was stank. Sometimes I woke up on the wrong side of the bed and was like, oh, you motherfuckers gonna die. See what y'all doing? Which was wrong. I admit. But it also became, an outlet for me to talk about these things, because you remember, the whole reason why that account was born was because Justin Beck had his friends come to him and be like, is your wife okay? Her posts on social media are a little crazy. And that was in October, November, when the shit first popped off. So like, it was a secret account that was helping me, feed my desire to learn more. And that's just, again, that's the stay-at-home journalist in me. I like learning this shit. I love meeting a scientist, bitch. I love reading gobbledy-ass gook that I can't even really understand until I Google Translate the shit 4 different ways. Like, I'm a fucking nerd at the core, and I like that shit. And also, it could help somebody. It could be a public service. Has it been detrimental to my health? 100%. Am I at the level where, like, I'm a NASA scientist and I think, nobody's listening to me about climate change, and so I'm going to fucking handcuff myself to the doors of Chase Bank because they have invested so much in fossil fuels? No, I'm not there. But I understand that frustration. I do. Where you feel like, I'm fucking telling y'all this and no one's listening. And then it just gets to a point where now all the information that I had put out there early on, and I'm not saying I'm the only person, I'm not saying I'm that fucking important, but I'm saying information that I had put out there early on that is now normal, commonplace information that has become normalized, that's being reported. Like, from me, I feel good in that. Like, I told motherfuckers that. I said that. Yep. Remember when I said that would happen? This show did. So, like, even though it's fucking crazy and it crazy making, there was a piece of me that felt good about it because it was just like, there's somebody today that's wearing a KN95 that ain't gonna get that shit. That's how I rationalized it.
Mm-hmm.
But monkeypox is on a whole nother level because now it's eating into these my other compulsions about cleanliness and vanity.
Yep.
And it's just I'm gonna go over the it's not gonna be good. I'm not even, mark my motherfucking words, if monkeypox comes into my house, I don't think I'm gonna be okay. That sounds so stupid and superficial, but I am telling you, it's going to feel like a moral failure on top of a dirty secret on top of, and even that's even with understanding the stigmatizing of it and all of that shit.
Yeah.
That's even with understanding how it's wrong, the reporting that they've done on it and all that. That's understanding all that. I'm saying me, the person. When I got COVID, it was a moral failure to me. I was very upset.
Yeah.
Not even my fault, and I got the shit.
Right. No, not even your fault. I just wonder, when I hear you say about the things that you find beneficial for the reading and the reporting of, what's going on and helping other people, it sounds to me that this is a way to find a tiny bit of control in a situation that feels very out of control, and then putting it under that label of like being helpful, or, I mean, and I'm not saying that it's not helpful, but...
No, you are correct. You are correct. I need to find a way to make it palatable to myself. This harmful behavior that I'm doing, that I'm consistently engaged in for myself, I need to find a way to make it mean something.
Or just find a way to like consume it in a way that satisfies.
Listen, I can't
your
consume
need
it.
to stay...
I can't consume it. I can't consume it. That's the black ass bottom line. Is I have to turn it off, and I don't have that because I have a thirst for knowledge on top of I love and I told you so ass bitch. So I mean, these are character flaws that I have. But I'm the last person in the world that wants to say Justin Beck is right about any goddamn thing, but he's 100% right. I need help. It's not funny at all.
When someone loves you and cares about you and sees that you're in crisis, just as you've done with your kids, you do everything in your power to try to help them. And it's incredibly difficult when the person is resisting help, even though it's coming from a very loving, gentle place. So don't see it as a character flaw. Don't see it as an affront against you, because you would do and have done the exact same thing for other people. And it's not a moral failing. It's actually really fucking gangster is the only word that I can think of. That sounds so silly to say. It's really fucking gangster of you to seek mental.
Yeah, I need to crip walk into a motherfucking therapist's office for sure.
You need to pour 40 on your monkeypox reporting.
Yeah, definitely. I mean,
Well, I think it's also hard too when you're a self-sufficient person who can handle her shit, and she doesn't normally need to rely on other people for other things. And so admitting, oh God, I need help. I hate that. It's gross.
What's this whole conversation? Put it in the garbage. I don't want to do that. I don't. And,
but having this conversation is helping people who are feeling the exact same way that you feel, the way that I feel. Maybe they're thinking like back to interactions with their... Hold on. Gentlemen! Bennett and Lennox. Stop. I will deal with it when I come out. I'm almost finished. Oh my God. Is school back in yet? Because we are like at the full on bickering stage all day, every day. And I'm ready to, but
they're still BFF.
Yeah, but oh my God, it's just, but having, I think that it is helpful, as much as we say, oh, we got to normalize mental health struggles and we need to do better mental health care in the United States. I think that as long as, we can say that, but if we continue to perpetuate this belief that like, I can just, white knuckle it and get through it and then I'll be okay, you start to, like a trash compactor, just like push down until something hits that might not even be that big of a deal and then makes it all explode. And then now you have a way bigger pile of shit to work through than if you just kind of incrementally tackle it a little bit at a time.
Right. And if you scrape the food into the trash, then hand wash the dish, the trash compactor ain't gonna get piled up like that. See? I can't control it. I make everything. Okay. I can't.
I know.
Stay serious for shit. And that's
it's uncomfortable.
Obviously a coping mechanism.
Let me care about you, Melissa.
I'm literally drenched in sweat right now as we speak.
Why won't you let me love you? Hey, you'll be fine. You know what? I'm going to send you a caftan this week. It's going to arrive. You're going to put it on. You're going to feel fabulous.
And then I'm going to stay in the house. I'm going to stay in the house. Stay in the house a lot.
You better set that appointment.
It is. Doctor.
It's fine, and it will be fine.
Dr. Susan's going to work us out. She's going to get us together.
That's good. God. You'll love it. It'll feel so good.
You love it, love it. I will. Okay.
Come on, PMA.
Oof, I hate PMA. But yeah, totally. Yeah, 100%. Love it.
Cool. Good talk.
Okay, bye. Thank you.